everybody. So, welcome to Miss Adela Beauty. I have got a wonderful introduction today, and this is Paula-Rose Castronova that is with me. Welcome, Paula-Rose. She is
Thank
all the
you. Lovely
way
to be here.
from Sydney, Australia, which is one of my favorite places. And I'll let you know about that, Paula-Rose, afterwards, because I didn't quite tell you about that before. So I'll go into that later on. But tell us a bit about yourself, first of all.
Okay. Well, I work in what is called active sustainability leadership. So I help people and organizations move from intention to action for nature positive results. And I think in the beauty industry, that means shifting from surface level solutions to whole systems thinking that's better for the people, for us, and the planet. And then my background is actually in beauty started when I was a teen model. So I've been thinking about this, for quite a long time. And then I later earned a degree in fashion design and worked in fashion and film and television as a wardrobe stylist and costume designer. And then I always collaborated closely with the makeup artists. So I
Yeah.
learned a lot from them about beauty and how to create a cohesive image, that you could take and what your clients wanted, and then that's reflected in your own self, really. And then I moved on to art direction, food styling, the hospitality industry, and now I grow the sustainability sector. But that's another story. We'll talk about another podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I know you're writing your book, so this is going to be really interesting for me to read this and possibly, my audience as well, because it's going to be in our topic area and what we're going to be talking about today. So I presume that's what
Mm.
brought you to be a guest on today's show. We're talking about the biggest beauty myths that really stop us women, with a focus on women over 40, really stop us from looking and feeling our best. So what's the attraction from your end? What's made you want to be a guest?
Well, I feel that sustainability has not really talked about within the beauty industry. I mean, we know supply chains and circularity and through the marketing, and greenwashing. But I really, when you reached out to me, it's part of who I am, and it's very important to me. How you feel internally and externally, and your skin is
Absolutely.
an organ. And then how do we give that sort of understanding, to everyone in your audience? I think that the older that we get, we really have to see ourselves as blossoming and progressing and nurturing, in a very positive way, and not that we're getting older and it's a bad thing. It's actually a beautiful thing.
Yes, it is indeed. I mean, we get this a lot on our Facebook group, where people really want to age gracefully, and others do too, but with a little help, tweaks here and there, things like that, which is a big, big topic. And both are absolutely fine, of course, but it is, to me, feeling like you're still beautiful, whatever age you are, looking in the mirror and seeing, the best bits about yourself, so that we're not constantly dragged down by this idea of you've still got to look like you looked in your, when you were 20. And everything is important, your whole mentality. So on that note, because this is a great topic, but we're going to focus on the beauty myths that hold us back in particular. On that note, let's go and let's start with the first question, which is, what advice do you think um, is completely outdated now?
Well, I believe that the most outdated ideas in beauty, sorry, are anti-aging. It's as if getting older is a flaw or it's something to hide. We've been taught to see like all our lines or problems, as problems, instead of a story of how our skin can talk to us about our lives and our lived experience. And I believe in a holistic experience, a holistic sort of perspective. That's what sort of the planet needs to, but we're all connected. So aging is a biological privilege, if you I think that. And our bodies, we carry through the years our emotion, our learning, our connection. And, the culture, though, has long been driven by a fear, like we're afraid of looking older, or we're not fitting into the mold of what perfect is.
Yeah.
And that's not really, I don't think, the case. And then we start using all these things like harsh actives, and we think we need to use millions of products. And that's certainly not good for the environment, and complex routines and quick fixes that we're not satisfied, and it often leaves our skin very stressed and confused. So it's not perfect situation, and emotional well-being, and our sleep and our nutrition and our hormones are all connected. So if we shift to internally, being healthy and feeling movement and growth in not sort of a pain is gain way, then we feel better ourselves, and our skin is reflective of that. So then we don't need to do so much to it, to enhance it with external products and treatments.
And this is perfect for, this myth about how many products. What's your AM routine? We get asked this an awful lot in the group. What's your AM routine? What's your PM routine? We all want to know what others do. And then suddenly there's about 20 products involved. You've got to start with this cleansing, and then you've got double cleanse. And I'm thinking, I'm sure one cleanse is enough, but we double cleanse, and then we tone, and then we put something else on and something else, and then under eyes and over the lip, and and then suddenly we arrive at moisturizer. Whereas I remember my mum just using moisturizer, if she even used that. So, she'd maybe start off with a bit of soap in the shower to get the grind off, the grime, sorry, or any makeup, and then it was straight to moisturizer. So is it a myth that we need all of these products? And you've just said, not really.
I'm not how do you say, I am not in the industry as
But the
such, but I have used
sustainability
myself
side
as
of
a,
it.
but I've used myself as a guinea pig. I must say, I've pretty much been to very many estheticians through, Los Angeles, where all, the stars go, to a dermatologist there. And, I've tried almost every product, I think, under the sun. But basically what I've come back to is just very basic. I use grapeseed oil, which is cooking oil, to take off my makeup at night.
Wow.
I use a very mild cream cleanser, Avane, who is over the counter. I then just use vitamin E oil. I might use an active or an active peel, if I feel my skin sluggish, but it's very, sort of intuitive. So maybe 3 products, and I don't use any eye cream at night. I find I get puffy eyes if I sleep with cream on.
Right.
And so it's very simple. And then in the morning, I just use the same cream cleanser and a moisturizer and a sunscreen. So, and the vitamin E oil is actually from the capsules that we use to digest. So I think that keeping that cleanliness, and that goes for the planet too, like if you keep your with what you're eating and your internal, microbiome and things like that, if you keep those very healthy and clean, your skin will reflect that, and it'll be healthy. Look, I love a glass of wine. I think, flavonoids are great.
Have you got one with you for this? Cheers. I've got water because it's obviously a bit earlier. It's not quite wine o'clock here in Spain, but with you, it's definitely wine o'clock.
7 late. Yeah. So, but, and I think you just have to listen to your body and what it needs. And especially with the myths of us over 40, being, healthy in our skin and in our wellness and in our beauty. It's, really who we are from the inside, that, our glow comes from that, and also, and I'm all for treatments, and my esthetician, is grounded in sort of all of that as well. She's basically shows me that, they go deep, and they find out who you are and what you need and what your needs are. And if you have a good esthetician and a good esthetician clinic, then they can guide you into what you want, rather than, going for a bunch of products. They're not into that. It's no more about just selling products and sort of making whatever KPIs or things like that. It's just about who you are as a person and how you want to be at your age.
We've got
How
to
do you
remember
feel?
it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, the beauty. And this is why so many celebrities are involved in makeup and skincare and doing tutorials and selling product, because it can be sold for, very high amounts of money. And there's a lot of profit in it, obviously. So like you say, you can buy over-the-counter stuff. You can go into a supermarket and you can buy moisturizers. Who's to say that's not as good as the ones that are over $100, £100, 100? Who's to say it's not? So,
That's it.
what mistakes are happening then? What mistakes do you see over and over again? Talking to your dermatologist,
Yeah.
your
Yes.
expert. What
Well, I
mistakes are
think
women
it's
making?
just what, yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No?
But yeah, no, I think it's exactly what we've been talking about. The biggest mistakes I see is overcomplicating skincare routines. Like one, women are being sold, regimes, layering products. I don't, that one is supposed to be better than the other.
Yeah.
When my skin is overloaded with too many products, especially those full of actives, my skin barrier breaks down. And I found that this leads to sensitivity, and I get very red, and the actives, they can clash. So if you're, too much exfoliation, they've said, and it has been known that that's not really good for your skin anymore. It's more the peels that don't, abrasively cut through your skin that are important. And then when you add retinoids and you add vitamin C, it doesn't improve. It actually makes it worse.
Right. Now,
So,
all of those things are in my cupboard. All these
yeah.
vitamin C's and hyaluronic acid and all of these things are in my cupboard, and I'm following a regime as well, like most women on the group, of what to apply, and it is quite a few products. It's stacking. It's a bit like stacking vitamins. Taking loads of vitamins at the same time. It obviously doesn't necessarily work for you if you do that. And makeup and
Look, yeah.
skincare's the same, isn't it?
Yes, no, that's what I have found. And people say, look, your skin is great. What do
It
you do? And
is.
I'm like, well, I don't. I think it's the grapeseed oil, basically that, and it's also, I mean, actives are good, don't get me wrong, but it's like you don't need to overuse them.
When you say
I
active,
find,
what do
well,
you
that's
mean
what
by
the
active?
vitamin C actives are, vitamin C's and retinoids, things that actively, promote, well, that's what
Aging.
I've been told by my
Mm.
esthetician. They promote, sort of renewal, or they promote, sort of exfoliation, and but they're strong, that they're strong on your skin, and that's when you find that there's redness and things like that. So I guess the actives, yeah, it depends on what actives you're using. So retinoids, I think, target, sort of fine lines, and then vitamin
Right.
C is for overall dullness. So it depends on, what
Yeah.
product you're using and what you need. And I do have those. I have an A that's a brilliant peel. And another sort of one that has both of those in it, but you use it sparingly. I think you don't need. I find that if I use it too much, my skin reacts and gets red and blotchy,
That's
and
so
breakouts.
strange.
So
So strange that you say that, because I've noticed
yeah,
redness here and in different places. Now, I'm a redhead anyway, and I'm ginger and I've got freckles. So
gorgeous.
I
Yeah,
haven't got a complete skin tone. I'm not trying to change that. I'm not trying to hide freckles or
no.
anything like that. But mine's an uneven skin tone because of that
Mm.
pigmentation. But I've noticed, and I thought, is it just to do with me getting older? I've noticed redness sort of here and here, and especially in my eye area. And I'm thinking, is that to do with all these stacking of products that I'm using every morning and every
Well,
night? Or is
y-
it just an aging process that, your
well,
skin
I
changes?
would. Yeah, when I see redness, I back off. So that's when I use my oils and things, and then I introduce slowly to see if it happens again. And it's maybe just back off a little bit. A plastic
I'm going
surgeon
to.
that I knew, as just a friend of the family's, he once told me, and it's always stayed with me, is that skin at its core needs moisture. And how you want to deliver that moisture to your skin, is your own journey. But my routine is intentionally minimal,
So
and
moisturizer
that's good for the
is
planet
the
as
key.
well.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely, which is what you're all about. So in other words then, looking at the
Hmm.
sustainability side of things and what you know about the beauty industry as well, what should
Yes.
women stop doing or stop using immediately?
Well, I think I love that, the journey of this podcast, because, I have been thinking about this one. And I think first we need to stop stripping our skin with the aggressive exfoliants that we're talking
Right.
about. More is not better, and overdoing is weakening your skin's barrier. So it's all about barrier, and, and accelerating the very issues you're trying to fix. So, and also to stop chasing, any new trend or miracle product, and just understand, what works for you. I'm a big believer in internal, skin health.
Yes.
So it's organic eating, clean eating, closest to nature as
Hydration.
possible, hydration, sleep,
Yeah.
stress, all those things. As far as
100%.
treatments go, I'm a big believer in laser. I think that really helps any really fine lines, any pigmentation. It just blasts it out of the park. It's amazing. I'm like, whenever I'm like, and I'm more of a holistic person, as I said, but some things in the medical industry
Really
you
work.
can't fault.
Yeah, I'm
Really
gonna look
work.
into laser. It's one of the things I haven't done. But
You need a
stop
good, yeah,
stop stripping the skin away. We
that's
notice
it.
our skin changing and we think we need to add in all of these products in order to get that glow back that all these
Mm.
celebrities have. And then we go on TikTok and Instagram and we see all these wonderful, usually women in their 20s and 30s who have got this glow, and we think, I'll buy that product and I'll buy that product. So we need to stop doing that as
Oh,
well,
I've been
being so
guilty of that
influenced.
completely.
Yeah, being so
But
influenced by others.
that's
But
it. But it's really important. I think I must point out that what's important, and what always scares me with anything with lasers or treatments, you need a good esthetician. So that is an important journey, to do and to find and to research, because
mm,
you build a trusting
yeah,
relationship, and they are putting a laser on your face and it can go wrong. I mean, not that it ever has to me, but,
yeah,
like, you need to really, be informed and make sure that they have credentials, to back it up,
yeah.
what they've done. And even, so really know who you are going to, and you will get the best results, which is what we want.
I know in the US, I know there are women who have access through their insurance, their health insurance, if they're working, through their
Yeah.
health insurance, they have access to dermatologists. And they talk about this an awful lot. In the UK, we don't have an access, nor here in Spain, have access to a dermatologist. If you go to a dermatologist,
Mm,
you pay for one.
mm.
And it's very difficult to know, who is good, who is right, who is going to understand your skin, who is the best. So you sort of just go along with whoever you get in front of.
Yeah,
Um,
well, that's true. Yeah, but I mean, we don't have it here in Australia either, or even in the United States, from what I know, or from California.
was it word
But
of
the thing
mouth?
is, I guess I'm more saying like just medical spa. So not necessarily, a
Okay.
dermatologist, but, a lot of dermatologists have a medical spa on the side, but some
Yeah.
don't. Like, for instance, I go to a place called Suede Clinic, and they have the esthetician side, but now they're also opening up the medical side. So it's about longevity, and it's about everything that we're talking about. And I believe the new space for beauty, is in internal and external health for your skin and your body.
100% agree. I've noticed just changing my diet and making it quite protein based, which is good for for losing weight as well to a certain extent.
Sure.
It's quite protein based, but it's also I've got my carbs, I've got the good carbs in there and the good fats in there, and I think that's helped my skin along with products. We were talking about collagen products and think collagen
Sure.
peptides that comes up as a question all the time. So looking at the positives of what we can do, what actually works better as we get older, for us women, what actually works better?
Well, I do think that, that our bodies respond more to support than to stress. So,
Right.
and our systems, are less resilient, so you don't want to push them to their limit,
Mm.
so I guess, as I said, no pain, no gain,
Mm.
mentally often it just doesn't work, especially because our hormones and our skin and our overall energy and health, are, becoming a bit more sluggish, I should say, and instead of pushing harder, also with aggressive, topical treatments, it's more effective to shift into a supportive role. So if we think of supporting ourselves and our biology and working with ourselves rather than against ourselves,
Yeah.
and then there are no quick fixes, and that,
I was
we
just
need
going
to,
to say that.
were you? It's so funny. Yeah, no, not quick fixes. And,
Yeah.
long-term they cause long-term imbalances. And then you stripping and over treating, you need to focus on strengthening your skin, and the natural defenses that we have, and to nurture that. And collagen, I mean, I think we were both talking, we both take, collagen, powder, and I have it every single morning. And it really has improved, my overall, I think, collagen health for my skin, but also my hair and my nails. I've seen such an improvement, and I can't, promote that enough. But you can't overdo that either. I mean, I don't take anything religiously, if you like.
Mm.
Um, it's more where you feel, your body internal, even you can overdo even the good things. So, maybe a half a teaspoon, or if I'm feeling that I need it, my bones need it, I'm cracking more in yoga, I might do a tablespoon, it sort of depends
Yeah.
on how you feel, and if you listen intuitively to your own body,
Yeah.
it will tell you what it needs. And that helps, that all, like you said, the protein, the healthy fats, the different fruits and vegetables, they all give you minerals, and they're good for tissue repair, and they're naturally good for collagen production, and that it
Yeah.
regulates our hormones, and it helps our skin barrier. So it's all tied, into like pretty basic science, as well as, you need your sleep, and stress is not a good thing, and the world at the moment, I know that's hard, but we just have to, try to manage that, and circulation, movement. I guess I didn't
Yes.
even mention that, but movement is so important, like
You
walking,
can
stretching,
see.
yoga.
You can see a difference when you've had a good night's sleep in your skin
Espe-
to when you've not
Yes,
had a good night's sleep. You can
that's
wake
very
up and
true.
look in the mirror, your eyes are brighter, your whole complexion is brighter. And
Yeah.
when you've suffered a bad night's sleep, for many reasons we can do that, of course,
Mm-hmm.
hormonal, and many other reasons as well, stress,
Mm-hmm.
or just children. I know a lot of
Yes.
our women on the group still have youngish children, so it's there's yeah, a lot of stress around. It's very difficult to take
There is.
yourself off and do 20 minutes of meditation and 10 minutes of nervous, sort of trying to calm your nervous system,
It's true.
but there are ways you can do it, and you can do it at work. You can go off to the toilet and you can calm yourself down, and you can see a difference. I've started a regime, and you can see a difference already. But like you said, the collagen is one of the things. So if there is just one simple change, just one, that could make a big difference to your skin and to the way you feel about yourself, the way you look, what we're talking about today. If there was one change, what would it be, in your opinion?
Well, to simplify your routine. And I think we started with that, which is
We
brilliant,
did.
and and upgrade your inputs. So less is more. And then
Right.
less is more for the planet too. So
Yeah.
it's all tied in together, and it's helping us. So it just makes so much sense. We don't need, the to help someone else's, bottom line. It's more about our internal health, and our if we do that, then we don't need to go to the doctor as much. We don't need, I don't take any sort of pills or anything like that, other than my collagen powder. So, and you do it at a certain time if you do need it, if you're having, some sort of medical thing or whatever. But I believe in, Eastern medicine, and I love Ayurvedic and if you look at the different, how do you say, Chinese, so there are different approaches to different things that as you get older, over 40, challenge your body, and your mental health. And you need, to understand that is a balance. And it's not bad to say no. So, I know everybody has children and work and stress, and I certainly do, but I have learned to take myself to just say, okay, I just need time or no. And community is important, and having family around you that can support you with that, say,
Yeah.
oh, can you have the kids for 10 minutes? I just need I need a walk.
Yeah.
That's just a walk clears your head more than anything else. It's not, and it doesn't cost anything.
Yes.
And it's so helpful to get out in nature and to have that beautiful green earth, around you.
Yeah.
It clears your head in 10 minutes, and you can go back to what you need, what's important, and
Yeah.
what you need in your life. So, so it means looking beyond skincare, beyond just the topical things that you do. And I do them, and you do, and we love them. I love them.
Yeah.
I'm excited when they're my best friends. I bring them flowers, for Christmas, so, I just, they're almost like therapists, as well as, you just talk to them about anything, and they're trying to make you the best person you can possibly be in your life with
Well,
what's
it's a
going on. So
holistic way that is the Eastern way, isn't it, of looking at things, not maybe the Western way. But if we took some of their ideas and tried to even just include, I always think if you can just include one more thing that you don't do, and I don't mean adding a skincare product, but one more thing to help your stress levels, or to change your diet, or to just try one thing that makes it better for that day, and then try it again the next day and the next day, and make it into a habit, because it will eventually become a habit, just like going and getting a coffee from Starbucks or wherever in the morning. If you can make something healthy into a habit, like meditation or something like that, then you view yourself very differently. So rather than being on Instagram and TikTok and looking at people who are saying you've got to use 15 products a day, and then going and buying them because you think you're going to look like them by the time you've used them, or going for surgical treatments as well, which is, definitely, if that makes you feel better, absolutely. But
sure.
But I think if you've got that grounding of, I'm at ease with myself as well, because I'm not so stressed today, and I like the way this feels. You're not then focusing on your looks all the time, are you? And
Well,
what you
that's
should
true.
be. Yeah. So
Yeah, and I mean, I have bought those. Yeah, I have bought all those, products, and gone through them, and my skin actually looks worse. So then I had to just use them on my body. I'm like, oh, my body's looking really good now, because I'm not going to throw them away. It's not very sustainable, but I wouldn't do it anyway. But then you're sort of like, okay, so just pare it back. So yeah, it's a shift away from doing more and to just do what actually matters.
Well, I think that's really good advice. So a simple change is, like, for example, just using 2 products in the morning, using your cleanser and your moisturizer, and seeing how you get on. If you do that for a few days, do you have less redness? Does your skin look a little bit better? And then maybe add some holistic things in as well, if you have the time, or if you can just take 10 minutes to yourself to do that. But yeah, these are just little
And
things.
it's food.
You can easily
you can
take
cook
away
with your
products.
family.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really good advice, because we do suffer with that, and we're very influenced by the beauty industry. I mean, I'm not I don't get easily influenced, but if there's one thing I do, it's with beauty products. And I do think, oh, I'll try that. Oh, I'll try that. And I've still got stuff in my cupboard, so I'm not very good for sustainability, but I've still got sufficient amount of this, that, and the other, but I'll buy another just to see if it's better than that one, because it's come highly recommended. And at the moment, Korean skincare is all the rage. So, I mean, it's kind of, I must try that too. But does it really change anything?
I don't know. You've got great skin, so I don't know. But, it's all what makes us happy. I do fly the sustainability banner. But as long as you recycle, and, I think we said before, but, when I went to Cambridge for sustainable leadership, which is another podcast, but it is, don't blame yourself for the supply chain. And I have done at Harvard, I did my last master, education mastery was on supply chain. And in beauty, I think if anything, but that's on the manufacturers. I think we might, be talking about that in a minute. I think I've jumped the gun a little bit, but yeah. So it's about, it is about their, supply chain. So, we need to use our products and however they come to us. But if they use recycled materials, so it's really on them to be more responsible in that area. And we should be able to live our lives however we, want to, and buy as many products as we want to. But as long as it's effective for each of us, that's the main thing, and that we feel that it's not being detrimental to our skin and not working as well.
I don't think we really know. Do we ever look at the ingredients? You might, but because that's your area. But do we? I mean, really? I've never looked at the bottle and said, so what's in my hyaluronic acid then? So there's hyaluronic acid. What is hyaluronic? I mean, what is it? Is it acid? Am I putting acid on my face?
No, I don't. Look, I don't know. I look at the label, but I don't know what it is.
No, we don't know what's in there.
It's all scientific.
We don't know what damage it's doing. I suppose if we put it in AI, one of our AI platforms, it'll tell us exactly what it is. But again, is it vegan? Is it this? Is it that? Is it animal friendly? Have they tested it on animals or not? So I mean, all of these things are important, but do we actually buy into that? So looking at the industry itself, the beauty industry, I always call it the good, the bad, and the ugly. This industry. What are they moving in the right direction? Are they changing things?
Well, I think there is momentum, but it's not happening fast enough. We are seeing positive shifts towards cleaner, formulations, more sustainable packaging. Even Chanel, I was in there the other day. I love Chanel makeup. For me, that's something I will personally spend on, because I find for me, it goes on perfectly. It's blended so well. It doesn't sit in the crack. It's fantastic. And they've actually started a new sustainable range, which I found fascinating. So, they've even done it. Greater transparency, which is encouraging, but at the same time, there are still a lot of challenges. The greenwashing is everywhere. Everyone's gotten on the bandwagon, and they've not necessarily done anything other than change their marketing, because it's unregulated. It's by honor. It's an honor system. It's not that governments have, policies in place to regulate what goes into the products, as we were talking about, or what the packaging is like. And underneath it all, many brands, they still want to sell. They need to sell their products. So, overproduction and consumption, as well as harsh chemicals that are actually detrimental for our external self, but our skin is an organ. So we're going to be putting all those harsh chemicals and chemicals that are bad into our internal organ as well. So, our
this
internal
is what we don't
body
understand.
No, and it's fascinating to me, and I have thought about it, and that's when I really pared back. And I'm personally I look better than I did in my 30s and 40s because of what I'm doing now, as far as my skin goes. And we need I think greater accountability, as I said, from the manufacturers. So in my space, that's what I push for within the beauty industry and most industries. It's the accountability of what they're doing with their supply chains, and ultimately, because I think the future of beauty should be regenerative. It's the science behind the products and the supply chains that deliver them, and supporting our human health and planetary health. It's all tied in. It helps at the same time. And we, as a community, as your audience, have the power to decide, what our beauty looks like and how we feel about it. And I think it's brilliant. I think it's an exciting time to be alive.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you say, I think the industry is changing a little bit, focusing a bit more on sustainability and hopefully the right things, like against animal cruelty and testing their products on animals. So it's they're moving, some of them more than others are moving in the right direction, but like you say, profit I think is their number one. All companies have to make a profit, and the more the better for the people at the top. So it's very much their first concern. And I don't think there's a great focus on women over 40 either in the industry. I think there's a lot of influencers out there, and the majority are in their 20s, possibly 30s as well. And they're sometimes the people we still follow and we still look at, and obviously they get all the products to try and for their tutorials and for their posts and their reels, and we're the ones that are influenced by all of these products. So I think there's still a lot to be done. So in your mind, what changes do need to happen?
Well, it's more, as you said, about really focusing on what matters to us just individually, and not so much on the social media aspect of it, or what we're being sold or marketed to.
Yeah.
For instance, I like Helen Mirren is my hero. I just think she looks great at her age, and she's a perfect poster person for aging gracefully. I think she's wonderful.
Yeah.
And so, I like looking at those, even Andy McDowell, I guess I would say, I'm looking at an older, or, I even think, so yes, I'm sorry, it's Sharon Stone. If you look at the older people, or even Jane Fonda,
Yes.
not that I mean, I think young, look like a lot of younger, like Zenda and people like that, even sort of some of the Kardashians, although a lot of those looks are going, people are going away from the trends that I see. When I look at the beauty trends and things that go out, because I'm fascinated by all that kind of research, where fashion's going, where beauty's going, it is more about what we're talking about, the longevity, the holistic people, the cleaner face, I saw on Instagram, one of the ads for it's actually out of the UK, a new beauty brand, and it peels. It's like they take a layer of skin off, like plastic, and it's got the big lips and like the perfect porcelain thing, and they take it off, and then a 20-year-old just has her freckles, and she's got this beautiful skin, and it's very natural. But it's you can tell that she has makeup and she looks after herself. So it's that internal glowing, holistic. It's all bringing it back. So I'm a firm believer that it is that sort of idea is changing. And I think that the influencers will change around it. From what I'm sort of seeing, anyway, I know that my Instagram feeds are a little more sustainable and a little more new age, and so it depends on sort of what you look at. I don't know about your beauty feeds, but I do look a lot at the different magazines, and their ideas of beauty and what's happening, and I do feel that that's a big shift. Oh, I lost her.
Oh, you're back on. Oh, you just went off there for a minute, but no problem.
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
That's fine, no problem. But just picking up on the changes then, the industry probably hasn't changed very much, but the way we can change is by not being influenced by these influencers. They're only being given product because they're being paid to sell it. And I always say, if somebody's selling something to you, it's not an unbiased recommendation. It's a biased recommendation. They're there to make some money out of it. So always remember that. And I think that's a great way to change our mentality over recommendations. Is it biased? Is it unbiased? And on my group, they're unbiased recommendations, because there's the sellers, if there's any sellers on there, they're not allowed to sell or promote themselves. So any recommendations that are passed to each other are non-biased recommendations. And this is why the group flourishes, because that's what we want. So yeah, not to be influenced by those biased recommendations, I think is a good change for us to make, because I don't think the beauty industry are making maybe enough changes to help a girl out, and to stop us spending so much money.
Yes, you have to trust your instincts, and really let, our routine can become simpler, then our confidence can grow, especially, when we're coming back to over 40, because, 20-year-olds can look good, they're pretty no matter what. and as you age, it's more about who you are and how you feel internally that
Yeah.
reflects what you are externally,
Yeah.
and whatever you're doing in your life.
Yeah.
And it also, for me, then the planet becomes lighter too. So they're all tied in together.
Yes, no, has been a wonderful rundown, and we've got some wonderful tips from you as well. Me in particular, I'm going to scale back my routine in the AM and the PM because they're both pretty lengthy. So apart from the fact that there's a lot of money in that bathroom cupboard, not that I go for the really expensive stuff, I don't, but because of the amount of products, if I add all that
Mm,
kitchen, that bathroom
mm.
cupboard up, my husband's got this much space in the cupboard, and I've got this much space
Yes.
in the cupboard. So if
Mine
we
was
add
like that too.
all of that up together, you're talking about there's a lot of money involved there, and we're using it every day, twice a day, so it runs
Mm,
out regularly as well. So
that's
I'm
true.
going to take your advice and run with it, and I'm sure a lot of the audience are going to give that a go as well, not just to save money in the pocket, but to see how their skin changes by not constantly being influenced by how many products you should be using and in what order, without knowing what that's doing to our skin.
No,
So
very true. I mean, yes, exactly. That would be my advice. I do like my first book is on sustainability, active sustainability, but my second one's going to be on active longevity, and I'm really going to touch stones on all of this.
yes,
And not to take away from a lot of the beauty products are great, and the expensive ones, some of them are really quite good. And I do use a very expensive peel at the moment. It's a French peel that my esthetician recommended, and it's beautiful, and it just takes off dullness and redness, and you just feel brighter when you wake up in the morning. So it's really just looking at your products and feeling them on your skin and saying, what is this
which
doing?
one?
And
Yeah,
and starting not following like, oh, they said I have to do this and they have said I have to do that, but no, you decide yourself. Just go, I put, like the cream on, or, like a little, just use a little bit and then build it up, and you'll notice that if you just have let's say it's an active hydrolonic acid, you put a little bit on, and then you see how that goes, and then you add more and more, but then you might get redness, and you go, okay, well, that was too much, I'll back off. So,
yeah,
it's really
definitely.
trusting your confidence in yourself.
Thank you.
And
That's the biggest
yeah.
takeaway for me. And let us know, Paula-Rose, where is it? Although I'm going to put your details at the end of the podcast on if for example, my Facebook audience want to follow you and ask you further questions, and certainly want to read your book and your upcoming one.
Yeah.
What is the upcoming book going to be about? Because you said it's a bit more linked to what we're talking about today.
Oh, well, no, that's the second one's going to be the active longevity. The first one is active sustainability. So that really is just, describing, because, I'm sure I find, and I'm sure that the people in your audience, they don't even know what sustainability is, because, it is quite a business
It
term
is.
as such. But, it's about stabilizing the planet through nature positive solutions, but it's sort of just aimed at just explaining things, and then that we really have the power. I mean, and even in beauty and what we buy, anything that we buy, what we buy to eat, anything that we buy in our houses, the people have the power in all of this, to change what they
Definitely.
want to do, and the health of the planet and the health of us as humans, are all intrinsically linked. So, and it's very, it's for everybody. It's absolutely for everybody. And I'm on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is the best place to get me at the moment. When the book, I've got 2 publishers, when that comes out, I'm going to go more into Facebook. I've got an Instagram account, it's very sort of like personal and funky, but it's nice. But then, I'll be having, more of that sort of side of things that go, but LinkedIn at the moment is the best place for me.
Perfect. We'll put your details up, but I just want to say you've been a really insightful guest. It's obvious you've done podcasts before, because that's just been wonderful, and you've
Well,
given
thank
us an
you.
awful lot to think about. So thank you, Paula-Rose Castronova. I will definitely leave details for anybody who wants to follow you or ask you any further questions. But I just want to thank you for being on my podcast today.
Oh, thank you, Adele. It's been wonderful. You've been an absolutely stunning podcast host, and I would love to come back anytime. And I'm joining your Facebook group. And thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
We'll look forward to the book about longevity coming out. Very important topic, and we look forward to that. Thank you very much.